Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Quietest Kept podcast. I'm your host, Shawnti Refuge. I'm a master certified mental health coach, author of the best selling book, Quiet as Kept, mental health advocate, and journaling guru, baby. Don't call me Journal Bay for nothing. This podcast is where we unpack the conversations we've been told to keep quiet, especially in the Black community. Each episode dives into topics like trauma, self love, healing, and mental wellness with honesty and heart. So grab a journal and get ready because what we keep quiet is often what we need to release. Now let's get into it. Today, we're talking about self sabotage. And I need you to know this just ain't about procrastination or missing deadlines. This is about the moments when you're finally getting your life together and suddenly you ghost your goals. You disappear on your dreams. You put yourself in messy situations when you were just finding peace. Does that sound familiar? Good, because it sounds familiar to me too. So in my book, Quiet as Kept, I wrote about how I used to delay everything good in my life. I'd sign up for a workshop and cancel at the last minute. I'd start a project I was passionate about and then, quote unquote, accidentally forget to follow through. Why? Because deep down, I was afraid of who I'd become if I actually healed, if I actually succeeded. According to Dr. Judy Ho, a licensed clinical psychologist and author of Stop Self Sabotage, we sabotage ourselves due to internal fears. And she ain't lying, y'all. It's a fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, and fear of change. And often those fears are rooted in childhood experiences like trauma or lack of validation. Self sabotage is often a form of self protection. It's your brain trying to avoid discomfort, even if that discomfort is growth. Because remember, if you're comfortable, that means you're not growing. So you always, more times than not, want to be uncomfortable. Your nervous system is wired for survival and not success. But we're not just trying to survive anymore. We're trying to thrive. Am I right? Of course I am, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast, which I'm so grateful that you are. Thank you. Now, let me tell you what self sabotage looks like. It looks like procrastination, overcommitting, so you never finish anything, choosing partners or jobs that drain you. Notice I emphasize that word choosing because that's what you're essentially doing. You're choosing that. Saying, I'll start tomorrow every day. Every day is, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Diets, new project, new habits. I'll start tomorrow. Or I'll start Monday. I'll start Sunday. I'll start on the first of the month. BS. Now, let me tell you how to break the cycle. First of all, you have to name the fear. What are you afraid might happen if you succeed? Identify the pattern. When you do start self sabotaging, what does it look like? Like, is it something new coming? Is something that you need to address or don't want to address right now? What does that look like? Is it right before a breakthrough? Notice you start self sabotaging? Think about it. Identify that pattern. And then you recommit with grace. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up. I don't care what it looks like. Keep showing up. Let me be the example for you. I started this podcast on my birthday, February 6th of 2025. I started Shawnti Refuge Journals in March of 2021. And I will admit, I came out with just the guided journals and I used guided journals as a crutch. I was hiding behind them. Never in a million years that I think I was going to be writing a book until my coach said, okay, where's your book? You need a book. Book for what? I procrastinated on that book until I was forced to write the book. And nobody forced me. It was like, okay, people need to hear your story. Let's go. So I wrote the book. It took me a year to write that book. Then it took me, what, almost 2 years to put out this podcast that I should have been done. And it was all in the name of self sabotage and fear, basically. Fear that people wouldn't like my book, fear that people would be mad at me for talking about them in my book. But I'm way past that now because I don't give two shit. Who knows who I'm talking about. If you know, you know. If you don't, then, if you find out, that's your business. So let me give you some journaling prompts. The first one is, what do I fear most about succeeding or healing? What do I fear most about succeeding or healing? How have I sabotaged something that was good for me? How have I sabotaged something that was good for me? What will my life look like if I stopped getting in my own way? Mm. What would my life look like if I stopped getting in my own way? And these are perfect journal prompts. And if you want more, I do have a book called Get Out of Your Way. It's available at Shawnti Refuge Journals.com. It's called Get Out of Your Way. It is an anti self sabotage guided journal. Perfect for you self sabotage and probably don't realize you're doing it. So I would suggest you go and get that. Also, I suggest you read the book by Dr. Judy Ho, Stop Self Sabotage. That book and my guided journal on self sabotage will be perfect for you. All right, so now comes the portion. I'm thinking this is going to be like one of my favorite portions of the podcast, which is Journal Bay Q&A. It's where you send me your questions, unfiltered, raw, real questions, and I answer them on my podcast. And I am getting an outpour of questions. Please know that this is a safe space. I will not call you out by name. All I'm doing is reading your question and answering your question. That's it. So thank you to those who are sending in your questions. And you can send in more than one. It's not a limit to the questions you send. I'm going to read them all so you know. Even if they're questions about me, I am going to read them. So if you want to submit your question for me to read during the Journal Bay Q&A segment, then you can DM me on Instagram and just let me know, hey, this is a question for Journal Bay Q&A. Would you answer this? Or you can email me at info@ShawntiRefugeJournals.com and put in the subject Journal Bay Q&A and then list your question. So, and then I will answer it. So, this is an appropriate question, especially for this segment, for this topic that I'm talking about. The question is, how do I stop sabotaging my own progress? So, self sabotage is tricky because it wears so many hats: procrastination, overthinking, perfectionism, even relationships we entertain that we know aren't good for us. That's self sabotage. And most times it's not because we're lazy, it's because we're scared. Scared of success, scared of failure, scared of who we'd have to become if we actually healed. You've got to get curious and not critical. So you would ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I trying to protect myself from? And then journal through that because healing begins when we get honest. I'm going to say that again. Healing begins when we get honest. And if you can't be honest with yourself, how do you expect to be honest with anyone else? Remember that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Give yourself permission to mess up, but don't let yourself give up. That healed version of you, she's already there. She's waiting for you to meet her. She's there already. So that's it for today's Quiet as Kept podcast. So if something I shared resonated with you, take a moment to journal on it. Share this episode with someone who needs it and visit ShawntiRefuge.com for more tools, prompts, and coaching. If you haven't already, grab your copy of Quiet as Kept, the book that started it all. You can get that from ShawntiRefuge.com as well. So until next time, protect your peace and stay grounded in your truth.